Hello guys, welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to be taking a look at and reviewing this set of 12 brush pens with an aqua brush which was sent to me by Stationery Island. These were sent to me for free in exchange for a review. We also have a little giveaway, so if you hang on till the end of the video there will be an opportunity for one of you guys to win a set of these as well. But in the meantime I'm going to open these up and take a look. So these are water-based pens and they actually have a bristle brush tip. It's not just like a felt tip that's flexible. So we'll take a look here. It's got quite a long brush tip there, and they also come with an aqua brush. So this is for anyone who's never used one of these. Basically it's a brush, just a normal paintbrush on the end there, but it has a barrel here which you can put water in, so if you aren't able to keep the water in a pot or if you're travelling or so on, then it's really easy to paint with without having to worry about a separate water pot. And I've been really liking using water brushes lately. I didn't used to really like them, but I do enjoy using them now. So I am going to have a look at these and see how they work and swatch them all and see how brightly the colours come out. So I started off swatching the colours on a mixture of paper. The first one you can see is mixed media paper, then I tried cold press, which I didn't show the recording of, then I tried hot press. And I was originally going to use hot press for my piece, which for anyone who's unfamiliar is a lot smoother than cold press paper, because I liked how smooth the colours came out and the pens didn't catch up so much on the tooth of the paper. But then unfortunately when I went to draw the actual piece I realised that wasn't going to work, because firstly I was using my traditional method of sketch, line art, colour, and then unfortunately my waterproof fine liners actually started to bleed a little bit with these colours, and obviously it's not the water, so there's something in the pen that affected the fine liners. And then also, I'm not sure, I can't say for sure if this is the pens or the quality of the hot press paper, but it did start to lift up when I started to layer the colours. And so I realised what I needed to do was firstly use the cold press paper and then work in a different method by reversing the order I do things. So I would instead do colour and then line art afterwards. And also I wanted to simplify my design. So you can see initially that my thumbnail sketches were quite complex. I had a much bigger idea in my head and then I realised that wasn't really going to work with what I wanted to do. These kinds of pens don't really work with the kind of colouring technique I would generally use with other traditional media, which makes sense because I've had the same experience with Tombow markers and Kuretake and all the other kinds of water-based markers on the market. And when you layer wet on wet, it creates a really nice wash effect, but in terms of actual slightly more complex shading, it doesn't tend to work. So for character illustrations, you kind of have to refocus what you're doing. And Stationery Island specifically asked if I could demonstrate these pens with a character illustration. So I wanted to focus on that and on figuring out the best way to use these pens to make that work. So you can see while I was trying various different swatching techniques, I did try a few different things. I tried lifting the colour off of the end of the brush with the aqua brush, and that worked on some colours but not on others. You may have noticed on my swatches that the pale pink colour didn't really blend outwards, and I'm not sure whether that just doesn't have as much pigment as the rest of the colours, but it was very faint and the colour just really didn't go very far, so I was kind of limited in what I could do with that colour. But I found that most of the others, the colour kind of stretched on quite well when I was laying water down on it. And so when I was trying out different techniques, I tried lifting the colour off of the brushes with the aqua brush and seeing how long they lasted, and that created quite a nice fade effect. And then I also tried laying wet on wet, and I also tried just blending different colours outwards on top of each other and seeing what effect I got. And this worked really nicely on the pale colours, but it didn't work quite as well on the dark ones because the darker colours tended to kind of just overtake the ones underneath them, and I just preferred the wash look of the pale colours. So then when I got to the actual illustration, I decided to use a water spritzer to create some interesting effects for the background. I put down some of the lilac and pink and then spritzed it, and then I dried it with a heat gun. That's what you can see me using in quite a few videos lately, is a heat gun. I probably need a new one soon because it's starting to smell like it's burning. And I also used just a tissue to mop up some of the excess as well, because I might have used a little bit too much of the spray bottle. So I tried using that to create a kind of mottled technique in the background, and from there then I started to build up into working in the finer details of the character. So I worked outwards from more sort of loose washy effects to the tighter details towards the end. As I said, the colour stretch is quite good in most of these colours. I used the brown tone for the skin, the purple was very dark and pigmented, and I used that quite a lot for the crystals. And I also found that the pink, while I couldn't actually get much colour to come out of it while using water, I did find it worked fairly well as a blender, so I could use that to blend out the brown tone of the skin and also to blend out the purple and the blue when I put those into the crystals. I also experimented a little bit at the bottom of the image with just lifting up the colour from the character itself without laying any more down and trying to pull that down towards the bottom of the image and seeing how that worked. I did find that some of the colours, like the purple I mentioned, when you laid it down and left it to dry and then went back with the water, it wouldn't lift up quite as well. You do have to work quite quickly with some of them, and so I went through the image bit by bit and I would lay down purple and blue and then blend it in. But if I laid down a colour and then left it and then came back to it, it wouldn't blend quite as well, which some water-based markers do seem to still blend after they've kind of been left for a little bit, and some don't. So these ones, that's something to be aware of. They kind of, once you've put them on the paper and left them, they won't blend quite as well after that. As you'd have seen, I used coloured pencil for the lines in this first piece, and that was just to avoid any problems with pens again, because I wasn't sure which would work and which wouldn't, and I just thought it would be interesting to try using a different process for this piece. And so I did the basic lines in colour pencil, then they basically just completely disappeared under the colour, and then I worked them back in again. And that was done with both pencil and the actual Stationery Island pens themselves to do the final touches, because the ends of the pens are actually fine enough to create little details as well. So an interesting thing to do is to create your sort of watery effects and leave that to dry, and then create lines and details over the top with the same pens, but obviously not blending them in, just using them as brush pens. And I found that they're quite easy to control as just drawing pens, because obviously these are made, as well as for arts and crafts, they are made for calligraphy as well, and so they have a smooth tip that is easy to control, which was interesting because usually I really do struggle with brush pens, and I found despite these having quite a long brush tip, they were actually very easy to control for fine details. And then that takes us on to my next piece, for which I just decided to really experiment, and I just wanted to kind of throw all the water on it and see what happened. So the sketchbook that you can see suffering in this second piece is my Seawhite of Brighton sketchbook, which I have to say took all that water like a champ. It didn't go through to the other side, and I just really wanted to see what happened when I threw as much water as possible onto these colours and blended them together. Because I'd done a quick check, I didn't record it, but I did a quick check on another page in my sketchbook where I tried to create like a nebula effect by blending black with some of the brighter colours, and I really liked how it looked, and though it didn't come out quite as good as in the sketchbook on this actual piece, I still kind of liked the effect. So I just spritzed it with water, then chucked a load more water on it with the aqua brush and left it to dry a little bit. If there are any bits that didn't dry properly, I just did them with the heat gun. And then I put some white gel pen over the top and saw how it looked as a space effect, which I quite liked. I found that some of the colours, like I said, are really, really vibrant, like the purple, the red and the green. Unfortunately the pink, again, I tried, but it just kind of picked up the colours of the other pens, which seem to get attached to it. So I've got to kind of clean that one off, I think, because it just seems to sort of contaminate itself with all the other colours. And then I finished off this piece, which should have said is Cinnamon, my alien character, for anyone who's unfamiliar with him. And as you can see, I just used the black Stationery Island pen for the final lines on this one. So again, like I said, very easy to control for fine details. I was really happy and pleasantly surprised with how well that worked. And so you can theoretically create an entire image with just these pens. You don't have to rely on any other pens if you're happy using a kind of working process that involves colouring first and then lines afterwards. As for the aqua brush, I found it really comfortable to use. It's labelled as a medium, and it was quite a nice balance between different sizes. It was easy enough to fill large areas and small areas with it. I didn't have any problems with like bristles coming out or leaking or anything, and it was nice and comfortable to hold. Obviously with aqua brushes you just squeeze the barrel to let more water out, and it was easy enough to do, easy enough to hold. So I did enjoy using these pens, even though it took me a little while to sort of get going with them and figure out what worked and what didn't. I found that, like I said, there was some inconsistency in the strength of the colour. I think there's a fairly good variety of colours in this set. It's kind of a nice set of primaries and complementary colours, though you can buy add-on sets, which I think are really nice. And I do think the quality of the brush tips is really nice, and they'd be really good for doing obviously calligraphy and also doing line art. I've linked Stationery Island's website in the description box below if you'd like to check out any of their products, and also they do have a YouTube channel where they demonstrate some of the techniques with their pens as well, so I've put that underneath as well if you guys want to go and take a look. So here are the two pieces that I've completed with these pens, and now for the giveaway part. So if any of you guys would be interested in winning a set of these for yourselves, all you have to do is leave a comment below, just like in my 10k giveaway, and then on Wednesday the 21st of March at midday this time I'm going to close it, not midnight, so I don't have to stay up till really late to record a video. But yeah, midday the 21st of March GMT, so that's UK time, and that's when it will close, and then I will randomly pick one winner and Stationery Island will send out a set of these to that winner. So thank you Stationery Island for this opportunity, and thank you to you guys for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it and that it was helpful to you, and I hope to see you next time. Good luck in the giveaway. Bye!